Three words. 3 words spoken behind closed doors just destroyed everything. And when you hear what the Team USA head coach actually said about Caitlin Clark, when you hear the exact phrase that was leaked from inside that locker room, you're going to understand why her Olympic dream isn't just delayed. It might be completely dead. This isn't speculation anymore. This isn't drama created for clicks. What just surfaced from inside the Team USA camp is so damaging, so intentionally cruel, that insiders are calling it the ugliest moment in women's basketball history. But here's what makes this worse. Much worse. The person who leaked it? They didn't do it to hurt Caitlin. They did it because they couldn't stay silent anymore. Because what they witnessed made them physically sick. And because the world deserves to know what really happened when America's most popular basketball player was erased from the biggest stage on earth. Let's rewind for a moment. When Caitlin Clark was left off the Olympic roster, the official story was carefully crafted. Too young. Not physical enough. Needs more experience. The media ran with it. Analysts debated it. Fans accepted it, reluctantly. But that story? It was a lie. A calculated, coordinated lie designed to protect the people in power and bury the truth so deep that no one would ever find it. Well, someone just started digging. The leaked conversation didn't come from a random source. It came from someone who was in the room. Someone who heard exactly why Caitlin was really cut. And it had absolutely nothing to do with her game. It had everything to do with fear. Fear of her fame. Fear of her following. Fear of a 22-year-old rookie making the veterans look irrelevant on their own stage. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what the coach said next. And trust me, when you hear it, everything you thought you knew about this situation will change forever. The room went silent. According to the source, when the coach finished speaking, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Because what she had just said wasn't a basketball evaluation. It was a verdict. We don't build teams around marketing projects. That's what she called Caitlin Clark. A marketing project. Not an athlete. Not a generational talent. Not the player who single-handedly resurrected women's college basketball and delivered record-breaking television ratings. A marketing project. But she wasn't done. The leak continues with something even more chilling. The coach reportedly looked around the room at her selected roster and said, "This team doesn't need a circus. We need soldiers." Circus. She called the attention surrounding Caitlin Clark a circus. Now, let's be very clear about something. This is the same player who averaged 27 points per game in her final college season. The same player who broke the all-time NCAA scoring record, men's or women's. The same player who made women's basketball appointment television for millions of Americans who had never watched the sport before. And in that room, surrounded by decision-makers who should have been begging her to join them, she was reduced to a sideshow. But here's where this story takes a darker turn. The source revealed that after the coach's comments, there was a follow-up discussion. A discussion about what would happen if the backlash became too intense. What if the public demanded answers? What if sponsors started asking questions? The solution they came up with? Blame the process. They agreed to hide behind vague language. Words like difficult decisions and competitive roster spots. They would never admit the real reason. They would never confess that the most talented player available was cut because her presence made others uncomfortable. And for months, that plan worked perfectly. Until now. Because the person who leaked this conversation didn't just share words. They shared something else. Something physical. Something that proves this wasn't just bias. It was coordinated humiliation. And what they revealed next shocked even the most cynical insiders in the WNBA world. It was a jersey. A Team USA jersey with Caitlin Clark's name on the back. But it wasn't a keepsake. It wasn't a memento. It was a message. According to the leak, during one of the team's private gatherings before the Olympics, someone brought that jersey into the locker room. They held it up in front of the group. And then, while others watched, they tossed it into a trash can. Laughter followed. Not from everyone, but from enough people that the message was crystal clear. Caitlin Clark wasn't just excluded from the team. She was being mocked by it. The source described the moment as gut-wrenching. They said some players looked uncomfortable, but nobody spoke up. Nobody defended her. The culture of silence had already taken hold. And the coach? She was reportedly in the room when it happened. She saw it. She heard the laughter. She said nothing. Now, you might be thinking, maybe this was just a bad joke. Maybe it was blown out of proportion. Maybe the source is exaggerating. But here's the thing. This isn't the first accusation. It's just the first one with witnesses willing to talk. For months, whispers have circulated throughout the WNBA about a coordinated effort to minimize Caitlin Clark's rise. Veteran players making dismissive comments in interviews. Analysts downplaying her achievements. Social media accounts connected to current players subtly undermining her success. Individually, these incidents seemed random, unconnected, petty, but not organized. Now we know better. The Jersey incident proves there was a culture. A toxic, exclusionary culture that targeted one player specifically, not because of what she did wrong, but because of what she did right. She brought too much attention, too much success, too much change. And certain people in that locker room couldn't handle it. But if you think the Jersey was the lowest point, you're wrong. Because what happened next didn't stay in the locker room. It went corporate. And when the sponsors found out what was really happening inside Team USA, the response wasn't disappointment. It was war. Nike made the first call. Then Gatorade. Then State Farm. Then a dozen other companies whose logos appear on everything from sneakers to stadium walls. They weren't calling to congratulate Team USA on their roster selection. They were calling to ask one very simple question. What did you do? See, here's what the people who orchestrated Caitlin Clark's exclusion didn't understand. They thought they were protecting their territory. They thought they were preserving the old guard. They thought removing one player would make their lives easier. They were catastrophically wrong. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a financial phenomenon. Her presence in any game guarantees ratings. Her face on any product guarantees sales. Her name attached to any league guarantees growth. And the sponsors knew it. Within days of the Olympic roster announcement, something unprecedented happened. Television ratings for Team USA exhibition games came in. The numbers were disappointing, significantly lower than projected. Executives started asking questions. Why aren't people watching? Why isn't the buzz there? Why does it feel like nobody cares about women's Olympic basketball this year? The answer was obvious. The one player who could have brought millions of new viewers, the one player casual fans actually wanted to see, was sitting at home. And the audience she would have brought? They sat at home too. But the financial damage didn't stop at ratings. Merchandise sales told an even more brutal story. Team USA jersey sales were down. Way down. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever jersey became the best-selling jersey in WNBA history. Let that satisfying irony sink in. The team that rejected her couldn't sell jerseys. The player they rejected couldn't keep hers in stock. Sponsors noticed. Investors noticed. And behind closed doors, a very uncomfortable conversation started happening at the highest levels of USA basketball. They had made a mistake. A massive, public, expensive mistake. But admitting it? That would require accountability. That would require change. That would require acknowledging what they did to Caitlin Clark was never about basketball. And they weren't ready to do that. So instead, they chose a different path. A path that would make everything worse. They doubled down. Instead of apologizing, instead of reconsidering, instead of doing anything that resembled accountability, the people in charge chose to defend the indefensible. Anonymous sources connected to the coaching staff started appearing in media reports. Their message was coordinated, calculated, and cruel. Caitlin needs to earn her spot like everyone else. The veterans deserve respect. She's not ready for international competition. The same tired talking points. The same hollow excuses. But this time, there was a new addition to the narrative. Something designed to shift blame away from the decision-makers and onto Caitlin herself. They started questioning her attitude. Whispers began circulating that Caitlin was difficult to coach, that she didn't mesh well with team culture, that her confidence came across as arrogance. None of it was true. But truth doesn't matter when the people controlling the story have microphones and you don't. For weeks, this smear campaign operated in the shadows. A quote here, a source there. Little poisonous drops designed to make the public question whether maybe, just maybe, Caitlin Clark was the problem all along. And some people bought it. Comment sections filled with debates. Sports talk shows ran segments asking if Caitlin had an attitude issue. The narrative was shifting, slowly but surely, from she was wronged to maybe she deserved it. It was working, until someone made a critical mistake. One of the anonymous sources got too comfortable. They said too much to the wrong reporter. And that reporter? They weren't interested in protecting anyone. They were interested in the truth. What came out next wasn't another vague accusation. It was specific, documented, verifiable. Internal communications, emails, text messages. A paper trail that proved the smear campaign wasn't organic. It was orchestrated from inside USA Basketball itself, coordinated by people whose job was supposed to be supporting every player, including Caitlin Clark. When this evidence surfaced, the internet exploded. But the real explosion was happening somewhere else. Somewhere Caitlin's critics never expected. Inside the WNBA itself. Because not everyone agreed with what was happening. And some of those people were about to speak up. Loudly. The first voice came from an unlikely place. A veteran. A player with over a decade in the WNBA. Someone who had earned respect through championships, all-star appearances, and years of grinding when nobody was watching. She didn't release a statement through her agent. She didn't post a carefully worded note on social media. She went live on Instagram and spoke directly to her followers. What they're doing to that girl is wrong. Her voice cracked slightly as she continued. I've been in this league a long time. I've seen players get overlooked. I've seen politics. I've seen unfair treatment. But I've never seen anything like this. They're trying to destroy her before she even gets started. And I can't stay quiet anymore. Within hours, the video had millions of views. Other players started responding. Some publicly. Some through anonymous statements to reporters. But the message was consistent. Not everyone in the WNBA supported what was happening to Caitlin Clark. In fact, many were disgusted by it. One anonymous player told a journalist, "There's a group of people who feel threatened by her success. They've been running this league a certain way for years, and she represents change. They hate that. They hate her for it. And they're doing everything possible to make sure she fails." But perhaps the most powerful statement came from a retired legend. A Hall of Famer. A player whose name is synonymous with women's basketball excellence. Someone whose opinion carries more weight than almost anyone in the sport. She didn't mince words. This is jealousy dressed up as professionalism. This is insecurity masquerading as tradition. And it's going to destroy this league if we don't stop it. Caitlin Clark is the best thing that's happened to women's basketball in 20 years. And instead of embracing her, we're crucifying her. It's shameful. The statement sent shockwaves through the basketball world. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't just about Caitlin anymore. It was about a civil war brewing inside women's basketball itself. Old guard versus new era. Gatekeepers versus growth. Fear versus future. And caught in the middle of all of it? A 22-year-old who just wanted to play the game she loved. But while the public battle raged, something else was happening behind closed doors. Something that would determine everything. The meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. No press releases. No public announcements. Just a private gathering of the most powerful people in women's basketball. USA basketball executives. WNBA leadership. Olympic Committee representatives, and one very nervous coaching staff. The agenda was simple but explosive. What do we do about the Caitlin Clark situation? According to sources inside the room, the tension was unbearable from the moment everyone sat down. Accusations flew immediately. Fingers pointed in every direction. Years of suppressed frustrations erupted all at once. One executive reportedly slammed their hand on the table and shouted, "Do you have any idea how much money we've lost? Do you understand what you've done to this brand?" The coach tried to defend herself. She repeated the same talking points: experience, physicality, team chemistry, but nobody was buying it anymore. "Stop lying," another executive interrupted. "We've all seen the leaks. We know what really happened. The question isn't whether you made a mistake. The question is whether this organization can survive it." The room fell silent. That word, survive, hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. Because the financial projections weren't just disappointing. They were catastrophic. Sponsorship renewals were being delayed. Broadcasting partners were asking uncomfortable questions. International markets that had shown growing interest in women's basketball were suddenly cooling off. All because of one decision. One arrogant, petty, indefensible decision. But here's where the meeting took an unexpected turn. Someone proposed a solution. A way to fix everything. A path forward that would repair the damage and restore public trust. The plan was simple: issue a public apology, admit the mistake, and guarantee Caitlin Clark a spot on the next major international roster. It should have been an easy yes. It wasn't, because when the proposal was put to the coach directly, when she was asked point-blank if she would support Caitlin's inclusion going forward, her response shocked everyone in that room. "Over my dead body." For words that changed everything. For words that sealed her fate. And possibly Caitlin's too. The room erupted. Executives who had maintained composure for years lost their professional calm in an instant. Voices overlapped. Chairs scraped against the floor. Someone reportedly stood up and walked out without saying a word. But the coach didn't flinch. She sat there, arms crossed, jaw set, eyes defiant. She had drawn her line in the sand, and she wasn't backing down. Not for the sponsors. Not for the executives. Not for anyone. "I've dedicated my life to this program," she said coldly. "I've built something here. And I refuse to let one player, one overhyped, media-created phenomenon, destroy everything we've worked for." The words hung in the air like poison. One executive leaned forward slowly. His voice was calm but razor-sharp. "You think she's destroying this program? Look around. Look at the empty seats. Look at the ratings. Look at the sponsors walking away. You did this. Not her. You." The coach didn't respond. But according to sources, something shifted in her expression. For just a moment, the confidence cracked. The certainty wavered. Reality was finally breaking through. She was losing. And deep down she knew it. The meeting continued for another 2 hours. Proposals were discussed. Contingency plans were debated. Legal implications were examined. But one thing became abundantly clear: the coach's position was no longer secure. Within 48 hours, anonymous reports started surfacing. USA Basketball was evaluating leadership. The coaching staff's future was under review. Changes were being considered at all levels. The writing was on the wall. But here's what nobody expected. While the executives were busy managing their crisis, while the coach was fighting for her survival, while the media was speculating about what might happen next, Caitlin Clark was making moves of her own. Quiet moves. Strategic moves. Moves that would completely reshape the battlefield. Because Caitlin wasn't sitting at home feeling sorry for herself. She was building an empire. And when the world finally saw what she was creating, the people who tried to destroy her would realize something terrifying. They hadn't eliminated a threat. They had created a monster. While everyone was focused on the chaos inside USA basketball, Caitlin Clark was working. Silently, strategically, relentlessly. She wasn't posting angry statements on social media. She wasn't giving tearful interviews about being wronged. She wasn't begging anyone for validation or acceptance. She was letting her game do the talking. And the numbers? The numbers were screaming. Every Indiana Fever game became an event. Attendance records shattered. Television ratings exploded. Her jersey outsold every other player in the league combined. But that was just the beginning. Off the court, something even bigger was happening. Brands weren't just approaching Caitlin anymore. They were competing for her. Bidding wars erupted between major corporations desperate to attach themselves to her name. Endorsement deals that would normally take months to negotiate were being finalized in days. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson. The list kept growing. And here's the part that made Team USA executives lose sleep at night. Every single one of those brands had previously been associated with USA basketball. Every single one of them was now redirecting their attention and their money toward Caitlin Clark specifically. She wasn't just surviving their rejection. She was making them irrelevant. One marketing analyst called it the most remarkable brand pivot in sports history. Another said, she turned their no into her empire. But Caitlin wasn't done. Because while the corporate world was falling at her feet, she was quietly working on something else. Something that would hit her critics where it hurt most. The court. Every game, she played like someone with something to prove. Every assist was a statement. Every three-pointer was a reminder. Every victory was a message to everyone who doubted her. You made a mistake. And I'm going to make you watch me succeed without you. Her stats were absurd. Her highlights flooded social media daily. Young girls across America started wearing her jersey, copying her moves, dreaming of becoming the next Caitlin Clark. She wasn't just playing basketball. She was building a movement. And the people who tried to stop her? They were being forced to watch helplessly as she became bigger than they ever imagined. But the final blow was coming. And nobody, not even Caitlin, could have predicted how devastating it would be. The announcement came on a Friday afternoon. No warning, no leaks, no build-up. Just a single press release that detonated like a nuclear bomb across the sports world. The head coach of Team USA was stepping down. Effective immediately. No farewell press conference. No thank you tour. No dignified exit. Just gone. The official statement used words like mutual decision and new chapter and grateful for the opportunity. But nobody believed it. Everyone knew what had really happened. She was pushed out, forced to resign before she could be publicly fired, given one chance to leave with a shred of dignity intact. And she took it, because the alternative was far worse. But the coaching change wasn't the real story. The real story came 3 days later. USA Basketball announced a complete restructuring of their selection process. New leadership, new priorities, new philosophy, and buried in the press release, one sentence that made Caitlin Clark's fans erupt with joy. Moving forward, roster decisions will prioritize both competitive excellence and the growth of women's basketball globally. Translation: we hear you. We messed up. It won't happen again. Within hours, reporters started asking the obvious question. Would Caitlin Clark be included in future Team USA rosters? The new interim director didn't hesitate. Caitlin Clark represents everything this program should celebrate. Her talent, her impact, her ability to inspire the next generation. We would be honored to have her represent this country. It was the validation millions of fans had been waiting for. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. When reporters reached out to Caitlin for comment, her response was measured, careful, almost cryptic. I appreciate the kind words, but I'm focused on my current team and my current goals. As for Team USA, we'll see. We'll see. 2 words that sent shockwaves through basketball. Because suddenly, the power dynamic had completely flipped. Caitlin Clark wasn't begging for inclusion anymore. She was making them wait, making them earn her. The people who rejected her now needed her more than she needed them. And that might be the most satisfying ending of all. The girl they tried to bury became the woman they couldn't ignore. The player they dismissed became the face of a revolution. The marketing project became the most powerful force in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark's career isn't over. It's just beginning. And everyone who doubted her? They're going to have front row seats to everything they tried to prevent.